Welcome to Pod and Long. I'm your host, Ryan. It's great to have you with us. I'm here with one of my co-hosts. It's the Word of Drew.
Everybody relax. Victor Wembanyama is going to gain like 20 pounds of muscle by next season. It's going to be fine.
He's done great so far.
I know. He's
God.
Unbelievable. And all everybody can talk about is how he looks like he's frail and made out of rice paper. Like, look at Kevin Durant at Texas. Look at Kevin Durant now. Wemby's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I may have a bet on him tonight. I don't know.
Ooh.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see on him specifically. We'll see.
That's my other co-host.
When
It's
Daddy's
Megastar Mark. Sorry.
No, you can talk over me anytime you want, baby. That's all good. Hello, everybody. We are here to dissect the weekend and all of the shenanigans that happened on the football field, both pro and college.
I like how you did that. I don't have to do that part.
No,
Thank you for taking that over.
Yep.
Thank you. Speaking of taking over, this show is going to predominantly be the reveal of the Orton line.
That's
It was
right.
constructed this past Sunday.
Mhm.
Give us a little background on the Orton line before we get into this list.
So as all great concepts do, the concept of the Orton line started in a bar late one night watching Sunday Night Football. The first ever Orton line was drawn up on a piece of torn out notebook paper, which has long since been lost to the ether. And the concept of the Orton line was that would any team, if faced with the choice between their quarterback or prime Kyle Orton,
Right.
Prime.
choose Kyle Orton. And if the answer was they would choose Kyle Orton, then said quarterback was said to be below the Orton line.
Okay.
This is the Mendoza line for NFL quarterbacks.
Yes.
Right.
And if your team would have chosen the quarterback they currently have, they were said to be above the Orton line. Because Kyle Orton, for those who don't know, his career win-loss percentage as a starter, I think, is actually 500. I think it's right on the line.
Yeah.
He's, a perfectly average, won't embarrass you NFL quarterback. Thus, the Orton line was born in 2011. It's done twice a year, after Week 8 and after the Super Bowl.
Okay. All right. So a little background on Kyle Raymond Orton.
Yes.
Played for Purdue,
Mm-hmm.
where he started 4 straight bowl games, drafted by the Chicago Bears in the 4th round of the 2005 NFL Draft. Sexy Rexy Grossman went down with an injury, and he was pressed into service, where he was pretty good.
Yes.
And eventually replaced Sexy Rexy in the playoffs. Eventually would go on to leave the Bears, go to the Broncos as part of the Cutler trade, I believe.
Yep.
And then he ended up being a backup in Kansas City, in Dallas behind Romo, and eventually ended up on the Buffalo Bills in 2014.
Came out of
before
nowhere
retiring.
after a failure of EJ Manuel. They basically like signed him off the couch to be the starter.
Pretty funny. So he is the Mendoza line of football quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
His record is he's above 500. His record is 42-40.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
Just 2 games over,
Amazing.
which
Like,
makes
I feel
perfect
like
sense
better.
for the Orton
Right,
line.
it's perfect for the Orton line.
Well, especially given that you can't be 8-8 mathematically anymore.
Yeah.
So it's perfect that it's just a little off.
Right. But I think that's accurate, though, because we want somebody who is, I always felt that as a quarterback who you wouldn't actively seek to replace unless the opportunity presented itself. Like if you had an opportunity to get somebody better, you would 100% do it, but you wouldn't be like, I guess we don't really need to do this. So
right.
He went 7-5 when he played for Buffalo in 2014.
Yeah, right.
Threw for 3,000 yards and
Yes.
18 touchdowns.
And the Orton line in general comes with one caveat. It's kind of like the old Bill Simmons trade column for the NBA, where there are certain guys who skew the concept of the column because, like, it didn't matter how old Dirk Nowitzki was, Dallas was never going to trade him.
Right.
And usually for the Orton line purposes, that falls on rookies.
Yeah.
Because from guys getting their first 8 starts in the league, they are fundamentally below the play of, as our other friend called it, prime USDA choice Kyle Orton. But also that team wouldn't give up that rookie for Kyle Orton because they expect greater things in the future. Right. So there's always that little caveat with the Orton line.
Okay. All right. Both of you set the Orton line along with, we need to shout out Greg A., the other Greg. The other Greg is a part of the
and he is the wellspring of the Orton line. He came up with the original idea.
Okay. All right. So shout out to him. All right. How are we going to reveal this? How do you you going to present?
If I can present it, I actually have the document open.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, it goes back a while too.
Screen
for
sharing
past Orton line.
tips. Come on. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay. All right.
I feel like it should be noted, and I'll wait for the reveal. But the argument of where the line is every year is a big argument.
Right.
Yes, that's the biggest part of the argument.
Right. How many quarterbacks are below the line? And historically, we've seen the line at I think we looked at it around 20. Right. That was usually where the line, I think, historically has been.
But this year,
it has been moving in a direction, though.
It has.
The last couple of
direction.
Yeah, it seems to be.
And based on some of the play on Sunday in the 1 o'clock games, we might be seeing a crazy thing. The funny thing is, I don't know anything about this. I haven't heard any. Nope. I'm getting this blind, seeing it for the first time.
All right now. This has decided to be a pain in the ass. Continue talking amongst yourselves for a minute. Yeah, for some reason I can't. I have it open as a Word doc, and for some reason I can't just present the Word document.
No, that's dumb. Come on.
That is dumb. You want me to email it to you?
You could. I could try it.
Stand by. It'll be on its way shortly.
That's a dick pic. And a dick pic. And another dick pic. Well, wait. No, that's a dick pic.
No, another one.
That's an artistic dick pic.
I like those best.
Rex Ryan, what?
Now I know something about feet.
Come on, Rex.
One of the great TV moments ever.
Rex has 100% found his niche in the world.
What, being on NFL Live?
That's all he needs. That's the perfect place for him.
Where he should be.
Yes, right.
He's not as fun as I thought he would be, though. Right? Like,
what do you think? He was talking about feet all the time?
Yeah, I thought he would be more crazy. I thought it'd be crazy.
Okay. I have sent you the most recent Orton line. If you require the rest, I can send you the full document.
No, I don't need the whole thing. Hold on, let me see what the best way to do this is. Okay.
You know what the people at home love? Our technical difficulties presenting the Orton line.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Right now, everyone at home is remembering their favorite Kyle Orton moment. So, they're going to be entertained by themselves. Don't worry.
Honestly, that game where he beat Syracuse 51-0 when he was at Purdue.
Okay.
There it is.
There it is.
Oh, boy.
The Orton line.
The white smoke is out of the chimney. This is this fall's Orton line.
Yep. Oh, my God.
I feel like this year we actually had like almost a secondary Orton line around 9.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
There was we got through about 8, and it was like, oh boy, we're in trouble.
Yep.
Okay.
We actually had to start working backwards at one point.
Yeah.
Which direction did you work from? I'm very curious. Did you work from top down?
Sort of. Yes.
We start top down, and then when we get to a point where we can't make any other decisions top down, we go bottom up and sort of meet in the middle with the crap that remains.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. All right. So we started with number 1, Patrick Mahomes, number 2, Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Yes.
Seems pretty obvious.
We got all the way down to about 14 until we had to start working from the other side.
All right. So number 3, this gets interesting here. 3 is Tua. Above Josh Allen, Joe Burrow's. It's Tua, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. If you're not watching,
but I feel like the argument could be with any of those, like 3 through 5. You can mix them up, but I mean the whole idea is they're all 5 are well above the Orton line.
Yeah, and Lamar is 6. He kind of fits in there too.
Yeah, I would say yeah.
Right, and history matters here, right? So like healthy Joe Burrow probably above Tua. Yeah. But because he hasn't been healthy this year, and Tua actually has been healthy this year, that puts Tua first. But Lamar above some other guys, because even though Lamar's not lighting it up, Lamar is a former MVP with playoff experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
so those kind of things become tiebreakers.
He's still winning games too. So I mean,
absolutely.
That's I think the reason we put him over 7, Justin Herbert, just because Herbert is, unless you're playing the Bears, he's having some trouble.
Yeah, he's a tier below for sure. Okay, so those, it's like Mahomes and Hurts are in a tier.
Yes. Yep.
I would go so far as to say Mahomes might be in his own tier.
He might be. I mean, his flu game didn't work out like we thought it would, but
right.
he might be in his own tier. Tua, Burrow, Allen, Lamar are all in a tier together.
Yes.
So, they could be mixed up depending on what you say. Herbert lands at 7. Herbert right next to Trevor Lawrence, 8.
Mm-hmm.
Dak Prescott, number 9. And now it gets really weird.
Yeah.
And believe me when I say there was a whole conversation about Dak Prescott is at 9, but if we played in a Justin Loving timeline with a proper amount of quarterback talent in the league, where should Dak be?
Right.
Because it wouldn't be 9.
I also want to point out at this point, we got to 9, and I don't think any of us were serious, but the specter of the Orton line showed up at 9.
Yes, it was already looming.
You can see this. Okay. All right. So number 10 is Jared Goff.
Right.
He is above the Orton line.
He is above the Orton line. His statistics are good. He is well liked in Detroit.
Okay.
There is not a lot of options to replace him to find somebody better. So he is above the Orton line.
He's played well this season.
Yes.
And yes, he's played well this season for a franchise that's winning games, and he has played in a Super Bowl before.
Right.
Okay.
Which Kyle Orton never did.
True. He did not. Okay, so Goff is at 10.
Mm-hmm.
Number 11, CJ Stroud. Explain this. Is this a trade value kind of a thing? Why he's so high? Because you wouldn't replace a rookie?
This is for me anyway, this was a CJ Stroud has made the Texans relevant going into the future for the first time in their franchise history.
Yes. Well, Deshaun maybe, but
I feel like CJ exceeded everybody's expectations. We've talked about in this podcast. He is acclimatized himself to the NFL quicker than I think a lot of rookies in recent memory. I don't think that even now, like even if you had prime Kyle Orton and you're saying, okay, just for this season alone, would you trade out CJ Stroud? I don't think they would. I think Stroud has shown enough where he deserves to be the starter and he gives them the best chance to win. And you get some weapons around this kid, and this Texans offense is going to be excellent. So
I agree.
Above the Orton line, but also the guardian of the line.
Yes.
This is a ceremonial position too.
Yes, it is.
This is important. Yes. Who are some of the past guardians of the line?
Stand by. Let me pull it up. I mean, Alex Smith famously was the one that we
several
knighted.
years.
Yeah.
We knighted
let's
him.
See.
He was the Knight of Orton for the longest time because he was always the guardian of the line.
Going backwards chronologically, in 2022, the guardians of the line were Derek Carr and Kyler Murray. Kirk Cousins in 2021. There's a gap where we didn't do the Orton line for several years. And then in 2017, it was Sam Bradford and Marcus Mariota. And then several years of Alex Smith right in a row. 2015, Teddy Bridgewater. 2014, Teddy Bridgewater again, and Brian Hoyer. 2013, RG3 and Alex Smith. 2012, Ryan Tannehill and Andrew Luck. And 2011, Alex Smith and Matthew Stafford.
Wow.
Alex Smith, a grand total of like 8 times he was the guardian of the line.
Yeah.
Wow. He's the perfect guy for the
hence the Knight of Orton.
The Knight of Orton. Okay. All right. So then we get the Orton line at 11, basically.
Right.
After 11.
Yes.
That's
by
very
far
high.
the highest it's
very,
ever
very
been.
high.
Yes.
The last
two
time
picks
we
higher than it's ever been.
Right.
Okay. So it's the highest it's ever been.
The record for quarterbacks above the line is 21 by comparison.
Wow. Well, this is a reflection of everything we've been talking about for however long we've been doing this show, like the last 12 weeks.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Why we can't do hurry up offenses and things of that nature. Okay, so we got the Orton line. Let's bring up a couple names who maybe could be above the Orton line and tell me why they're not. Start with our boy Kirk, who you wrote down as Kick Cousins, which I enjoy. Kick Cousins. No, I love it.
There's one very simple reason, Mark.
Yep. So if you remember in the offseason, he presented to the Vikings, hey, I'll take a pay cut if you just give me another year. And the Vikings are like, nah. So, like, if your own team basically passes on you to have you next year,
you're
then
below
automatically
Orton
you have to go below the Orton line because they want to replace you.
active replacement is the prime criteria of the Orton line, and the Vikings are actively replacing Kirk Cousins even before he got hurt.
Yes, right.
Okay. All right. I can buy that. Derek Carr, below the Orton line.
Now, I'll feel
you can
that
take this one,
as a Derek Carr apologist.
Yeah.
I will feel that simply falls below the line because he has not been healthy for New Orleans.
Okay.
They would prefer a guy that they knew was going to start at least 15 games over a guy who might start 10 by the end of the season.
Okay.
Because the Saints have been okay when he's been in the ball game.
Yeah.
Right.
But he left them in the hands of Jameis Winston more than once already this season.
And those hands are full of crab legs, so you can't be doing that. So honestly, Derek Carr, I think next time we do the line, if he plays the majority of these snaps, likely will be above the line.
Likely he'll be back above the line.
Right. But
right.
as
so
it stands right now,
thing.
just not enough. Yeah.
Correct.
An injury thing. All right. 14. This one's interesting to me. And I don't know if I'd put him down here. Geno Smith at 14, below the Orton line, below both of those guys. Team's looking good. They're in first place. He's playing pretty well. Pretty well.
You're doing good.
You're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not doing bad.
That's the problem. Like, Geno is not lighting it up this year.
No.
The teams know how to play him. The Seahawks are good, and he's a fine game manager, much like the guy at 15.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to have an opportunity, like prime Kyle Orton could go deep. Prime Kyle Orton could spice things up and energize an offense. Geno, I don't think, can do that. I think Geno is fine at not making mistakes, but he's not going to excite anybody.
Yeah, some of the cost baked into Geno Smith was and it's funny because the Orton line obviously is attempting to be a reflection of right now, but some of it was Geno as the price is baked in, the knowledge that I think we all think he's going to turn back into a pumpkin at some point before the end of the season.
I think he already has. I'll be honest. I think he's fine at what he is, but I don't think anybody's scared of Geno Smith.
Right. Okay. Number 15 is Brock Purdy. Is this a recency bias thing? How would he have landed had he not played like complete shit the last 2 weeks? I'm curious. Would he still be below the Orton line, or would he be right on it?
But we got to take that into consideration. We can't
I understand.
Horrible play.
And
I mean,
did he drop quite a bit? I guess is the correct question.
He probably dropped, in my mind, a few spots. Some of this was also, again, if active replacement is the theory, this was the one where the tail sort of wagged the dog. Like, the Niners didn't want Brock Purdy to be their quarterback in the first place and didn't want him to be their quarterback twice over because they had Jimmy G and then they had Trey Lance. So it's like, this is not a guy that I think in their heart of hearts, if you ask the 49ers, would you take any one of these guys above Brock Purdy that's above him in the Orton line? They would say yes to all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe even some people below it. So.
All right. 16, Baker Mayfield.
Bake.
That feels appropriate. For
Baker. That's
he's below the Orton line for sure.
He is the dead center.
Yeah. He'll give you a few games, but
yeah.
Tampa's not sitting on him thinking we got our guy.
No. Anthony Richardson is at 17. I feel like we don't know enough information yet.
Drew, I think dug his heels in on this one. Drew did not. I don't think Drew liked him at 17.
I didn't like him at 17.
Lower?
I also don't like Pickett at 18. I fought for Pickett a little harder than this, but I got outvoted.
You want Pickett higher or lower?
I would put Pickett above Baker, only because Pickett still has room to improve. Baker, I think we know what he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, potential does play a role in the Orton line too, and you're right because there is the unknown of Pickett.
Yeah, he definitely has more potential than Baker. Right now.
And really, based on all the criteria we're giving, really the Orton line is completely arbitrary.
Yes. Yeah.
It's how we feel about these guys on a Sunday that we do this.
I like it though. I think it's pretty accurate. Jordan Love lands at 19. He's been down for a while now.
Yeah.
Had another crap game. Mac Jones at 20. Feels a little high, but
I thought so too. But again, I got outvoted.
Feels a little high, guys. Come on, he's above Bryce Young. Bryce is better than Mac. Come on.
This whole range of like 17 to 23
is where
crap. We started working the problem from the other side, and these were the dudes sort of left in the middle.
Right.
So
they can be mixed.
Yeah, you have to have a mid-range of guys.
Right.
Like, I would love to have rated them like 1 through 15 and then like 30 through 43, but it doesn't work that way. You've got to have less bad guys in the middle.
All right, so 21 is Justin Fields. It feels about right. Bryce Young is 22. Jimmy G is 23. You know, my guy Sam Howell should not be this low. 24
Scrappy.
for Sam Howell?
Scrappy Sam Howell.
You know, your guy Sam Howell might not be on this list by the end of the season.
He might not, but right now he's cooking with gas. He's leading my fantasy team. He's my best fantasy player.
He might not make
Yes,
it.
he's not even a joke.
He might not even make it to a second or third NFL season the way he's getting hit as often as he is.
He's been sacked more than anyone.
Oh my God.
At the very least, even if he is still Washington's quarterback at the end of this season, you know he ain't their quarterback at the start of next season.
Right, exactly. There are way too many quarterbacks in this draft where Washington's not going to take one of them.
And the only reason Sam ended up ahead of the next two guys was because he's costing Washington much less money than the next two guys.
Okay,
next three guys.
I think Sam should be higher. Dan Jones, 25th. Matthew Stafford, 26th, because he costs a lot. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He's also shot.
He's shot.
Oh my God, he is shot.
He's cooked, yeah. But he's way better than half these guys. But right now, I'd take him in one game. I take him over Mac Jones.
I don't know if I take current Matt Stafford.
I take Matt Stafford over Baker Mayfield right now.
Wow.
I think. Just to win one game, not the whole season.
Well, you know who loses when you do that? America.
Yeah.
We don't want that. We don't want that. All right. Here's another one that I think I have questions about. Number 27 is Russell Wilson. I know we make fun of him and Denver a lot, but he's quietly not had, it's not his fault that the Denver sucks. Right?
Isn't it though?
Should be a little bit
he's
higher.
not doing anything. He's putting up great numbers, but as usual, a lot of it's in garbage time. So his stats look great.
Okay.
He's not doing anything to win them football games.
Right.
Okay. All right. Josh Dobbs, my guy, 28th.
Not even on the Cardinals now.
Not even a Cardinal.
Yeah, right.
Why are all of your guys rated 20 and below? You need better guys.
I like the underdogs.
Yep.
Tannehill, 29th.
Yep.
He might even be lower after, after a couple days.
Well, like I said, we got to this point where all these guys are now actively being replaced. Like their teams are out in public talking about how they want to replace them.
Tannehill was replaced. Zach Wilson is 30th.
Who was replaced? He shouldn't even be here.
He shouldn't be on the list.
Right.
Yeah. Desmond Ridder, 31st. Replaced by Taylor Heineke in the middle of that game.
My boy. That's my boy.
Heineke. And then I like how you did this little space here.
That's a formatting error. It's not that way on the
original I want it to be that.
But I like how it comes out that way.
He's in his own portal down here of hell. He's in hell down here at 32nd. Deshaun Watson, due to injury,
and
just completely exploding his own team and being a shit quarterback.
Wait, people this is the funniest outcome to this whole trade.
Yes,
is
he costs the most, so automatically he's low.
He is, and
he's played like shit.
Yeah, he's disgusting human, plays like shit. He's a locker room cancer, and they can't get rid of him. This is the best.
He is the perpetual 32.
By the way, two thoughts here, which is at least once we have rated 33 quarterbacks because some team's quarterback situation was so bad we listed various first-round draft candidates at 32. And also, last year after the Super Bowl, Mac Jones was rated exactly one spot higher. He was also at 20 then. He was rated one spot higher of Deshaun Watson, and I made a strict note that we put Jones above Watson because Jones was not a sex criminal.
Not a sex pest, so he gets one spot above.
Was that one time we had the Scobly?
When the Cardinals were trotting out John Skelton and Kevin Kolb and Ryan Lindley in a triumvirate from hell. We just called them the Scobly and listed them as one.
All as one name.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
We've also on multiple occasions listed the Browns just as the Browns.
Yes, right. Whatever quarterback they have.
Why isn't PJ Walker on this list?
I know. It is up until this point a majority of the snaps have to have. That's how you get on the list. So
if I'm looking at this, I would say if the people that have the most to be angry about, Geno Smith, I think should be angry.
Prove us wrong, Geno.
Geno should be upset. I'm going to say Sam Howell. I'll be upset on his behalf. Sam Howell's too low.
Because he's too nice to be upset,
He's too nice. Yeah, I'll do it for him. And then Russell Wilson. He's 27.
Oh, he can
He
go
should be
cry
higher.
in his millions.
Yeah. He hasn't thrown as many he's eclipsed the bathrooms already. Come on.
Yes. Yep.
Where was Russ last year?
Below.
Stand by.
Let's ride.
That's right.
Stand
He was
by.
much sadder
2020
last year. He was sadder last year.
Mid-season 2022, Russ was at 18.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Post Super Bowl 2022, Russ was at 24.
Okay. He's lower than both of those, and he was horrible last year. What the heck?
It's feeling okay. This guy sucks as a human.
He ain't coming back.
Yeah,
He
right.
ain't coming back, and
it's your list.
he costed them a lot of money and a lot of draft capital.
That's okay. All right. Yeah, we can put that's right. I forget that plays a role. All right. Any other thoughts about where you stand on this year's Orton line?
I'm
so
happy
far?
with 1 through 9, and then probably not happy from 10 through 30. 10 through 24.
Like most of the NFL teams that have those
Yeah.
quarterbacks. You mean?
Right.
You happy?
Right.
Sorry, keep going.
No, I'm just saying it's. I like the top 9, and like I said, it crossed my mind that the Orton line could be above Goff, but
Ooh, at
I know.
10 or 9, I guess the Orton line set at 9.
There's a delineation, I think, between 9 and 10. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
I love to point this out. It's my favorite fact about the Orton line because it ties people in knots. After the Super Bowl in 2011, the first year of the Orton line, it is the only time that Tim Tebow appears on the Orton line list, and he is above the line.
What?
Yep. That was after
it was the year he won the playoff game.
Yeah, right. He beat Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was amazing. That was an amazing game.
And then he never appears again.
Yeah.
Well,
because Kyle Orton was Denver's quarterback at the start of that season.
Yeah, he lost his job.
Appeared again yet, Drew. Okay.
Yeah. True. You make a valid point.
You never know with Tebow.
He's going to be playing left field for the Mets any day now.
Yeah.
That didn't work out either. Okay. That was great. That was fun. It was a great surprise. Fun. What a great surprise. I love it. And then we get that again after the Super Bowl.
Correct.
All right, so we'll wait for that. We'll do another one after the Super Bowl. That was fun. All right, we're gonna go through the categories a little bit quicker because we kind of
the number of times Case Keenum appeared on this list is shattering,
and he's still in our lives. He's still in our lives.
Yeah.
All right, category first one. What? The Broncos beat the Flu Chiefs. The Broncos won a game for the first time against the Chiefs in 16 tries?
Yeah, that's insane.
Wow.
Especially with how weird the AFC West is. We're out of any division, I feel like any team can beat any team any week if it's an AFC West team playing an AFC West team. So the fact that I found out that it was 17 or 16 games in a row, that's nuts.
Nuts, yeah.
Insane. There's not much to say here. The Chiefs were sick.
Yeah.
They didn't play. They played.
I'm going to give the Broncos some credit here. They played.
They won. Still had to win.
Yeah, they went out and won it.
And they they had a great game plan, which is what everybody should do, which is keep the ball away from Mahomes in the offense. Yeah. And they just bled the clock, and it was boring and it was slow.
Yep.
And they won, and that's all that matters in the end. So congrats to the Chiefs. Not the grants to the Broncos. Not to Sean Payton, he sucks, and not to Russell Wilson, I still hate him. But everybody else on that team, good for Courtland Sutton, good for you,
Courtland.
Javonte Williams, good for you.
I like him.
So Mark, this was the Mick Foley headlock of football games.
Slow headlocks,
long headlocks, slow long headlocks.
That's great. Okay, the other what game was a big topic of conversation last week when I said the Cardinals would beat the Ravens. Didn't happen. The Ravens won, but it was only by a touchdown. Somehow the Josh Dobbs Cardinals gave him hell and almost won this.
If you're the Ravens, you can't leave this game feeling good about that.
No.
My God.
We said last week, the way the NFL has gone, it makes sense the Ravens blow out the Lions. They're going to come back and lose the Cardinals. And they didn't, but they almost did.
Yep. I've been referring to it as the crab bucket So you ever heard of that concept of a crab bucket where the crabs will try to climb out, but then another crab will pull it back down? I feel like every week there's another like the Chiefs got crab bucketed this week, where everyone's like, the Chiefs are the best team in the league. No one's gonna stop them, and then they get crab bucketed. And I feel like the Ravens were this close to being crab bucketed. Maybe next week they'll get crab bucketed, but it's gonna happen. They do not look. Either the Cardinals are a lot scrappier than I thought they were, or the Ravens are playing bad teams.
Well, clearly the Cardinals were doing too well. It was time to get rid of Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they traded him after the game.
What are you doing?
By the way, nobody more concerned about the trade of Josh Dobbs than
Caleb Williams' dad.
Damn right.
Oh,
Betting bullets now. Nervously eyeing that Chicago team.
Did I read correctly that the Cardinals are going to start Clayton Tune this weekend?
Yes.
He was like a 9-year starter at Houston, I think.
Oh
like,
my God.
He's not going to embarrass them. I also don't think he's going to be great.
Yeah, I would imagine not. Although
I don't think
Houston QBs, wasn't Case Keenum at Houston? We just talked about him. Yeah, right.
Probably. Case Keenum. He played everywhere.
Running back. Where's he play for? Who cares? It's an inside joke.
Troy Hambrick.
Troy Hambrick, right? Yeah. Where's Troy Hambrick went to college? Who cares?
Who cares?
All right. Next category is the ballad of the 2023 Carolina Panthers. We beat the Texans. I was validated. I've always believed in you, Bryce. I've always believed in you, Bryce.
Look at that.
That's not one. There's two of them here. I've always believed in you, Bryce Young. I've never thought CJ Stroud was better.
He outdueled him. I think that's the most impressive
He outdueled
thing.
him.
He did.
Because of the nature of this game and it being exciting that one plays two, I saw a lot more of this game than I normally would. And I kind of saw like, oh, Bryce Young is totally missing guys that are open because he's too small. Like you can just tell on certain throws where two guys are to the left and he just completely misses it and has to go back to the right. Like you can see his progression is getting messed up by being too small or not being in the right spot. He doesn't have that Drew Brees thing where he can like slide between linemen and then like, loft one over, or the look up thing. Like he doesn't have those moves yet. So you can tell like, oh, Thielen's open. He missed it. He's got to go back. Like even on that 1 4th down where he threw it to Thielen, he missed. Miles Sanders was right there and almost hit Miles Sanders right in the face. And the best play of the entire season from Miles Sanders, not worth $25 million, was him moving out of the way to let that 4th down be converted. Thank you for that. But yeah. And then at the end, they had to kick it, 3 or 4 times before they could win the game because the Texans
was the only way that game was going to end.
Intentionally going off sides to extend. Oh, boy. What a game. It was ugly. But
a
win's a win.
That's right.
1 and 7.
You got one more win than Sam Houston State.
There's this guy I follow who does reactions for every team. His name is Tom Grassi. And he did one for the Panthers. And he's like, we won, but it's good because we're gonna get our pick in. Fuck. That was all it was. Yeah, we don't have our pick. All right, next category: Caleb Williams' dad bracket.
Yeah.
This guy's having a rough couple weeks. Mm-hmm. He thought he was gonna get ownership stake in the Bears, and now we don't even know if the Bears want him.
Yep.
The first one is the Chargers kill the Bears. Yeah. The Tyson Baghley experience is over. Just that.
Not to blow past the actual game featuring a Division II quarterback, but just in a larger sense, why did the Bears bother to trade for Montez Sweat?
Oh, I know.
What do the Bears get out of this exactly?
Okay. Yeah.
Isn't it weird that they trade? Okay, they traded. That's also something we should talk about. The trade.
We had a couple trades today. Today was today was the trade deadline. So
mostly involving Washington trying to stake their claim in the Caleb Williams dad sweepstakes.
Yes,
honestly, man, like if you're looking for a fresh new start, that's not a bad spot for him.
No, maybe. Do you have any certainty that Ron would be the coach there next year?
No, he's not. He's coach in Maryland. We know this.
All right, so Montez Sweat on the Commanders
Yeah.
Was he D end or D tackle? I think he's a D tackle.
He was a defensive end. Yeah.
Defensive
Yeah.
end. Okay. He
Yeah.
gets traded to the
He
Bears
gone.
for a second round pick,
He gone.
which seems really high. Really high.
No, I mean
Not if you
second round pick.
Not if you re-sign him.
Yeah.
But the problem is you got to go out and re-sign him. And
You're
the
the
other problem
Bears.
is you're the Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. What's
I
he
know.
gonna say?
He when he came out of college, I liked him a lot. I really thought he was going to be good. So I think
Still a good
he's
player.
Still very young.
He is
potential
good.
there. Yeah, I'm not a second rounder to me is fine on this.
And then we turn around and the 49ers get Chase Young for a third round pick. So with the Bears like asleep at the wheel here, the 49ers offered their shitty third round pick, not their really good second round pick.
Well, this is where listen, this is where, we've been making fun of it all year, but this is where some of what Caleb Williams' dad said kind of comes to the fore, right?
Yes.
Like bad teams make bad decisions that
Yes.
hamstring
He's
them,
not
and
wrong
now the
about
first pick in the draft has to go there.
Right.
And
If you're the Commanders, though, I do kind of get it. Like your season, I think at this
Sure.
point, what's happening.
Absolutely.
And I think had they beaten we'll talk about had they beaten the Eagles, I think this might have gone a little different. I don't know if they would be sellers, but get something for these guys who aren't going to be there. I'm kind of surprised Jonathan Allen's still there after that tirade he went on. Where he talked about I'm tired of fucking losing. This is fucking bullshit. They're clearing up space, and now they don't have to, they're not on the hook for any of these contracts now,
right?
Or negotiating. They got something for them. Guys who were definitely out the door. I actually thought both these moves were good by Washington.
I think they called. But this is how I pictured it in my head. They called the Bears and they're like, "All right, you want Allen?" And they're like, "We'll give you a second for Sweat." And they're like, "Okay, sure, why not? Why not? All right." The Chargers killed the Bears.
Zoolander, he's absolutely right. Moments.
Yes. Okay.
Montez Sweat has to be at least a second rounder. He's absolutely right.
Chargers look good. I mean, for what it was, they look good. I like that they spread the ball around a little bit more. So
good for the Chargers.
Yeah.
Enjoy that one, Chargers. They didn't have to sweat. They didn't charger it, which was the funniest part. Like they actually just went out and straight up won a game instead of doing stupid things. The other one in the Caleb Williams dad bracket is for you, Drew. The Lions come out and just decimate the Raiders, and the Raiders are now 3-5.
I'm going to be as unemotional about this as I can.
Okay.
Fuck.
Because I preface all this by saying I'm at the point with the Raiders where I really didn't watch virtually any of this game.
Wow.
Because instead I was at the Red Wings Islanders game last night down on the island.
You're doing the Mark move. You're doing the Mark move. Just move to hockey.
Go to hockey.
Totally. So, and thanks 4-3 overtime win.
I would say they won. Yeah.
Anyway, Lucas Raymond looks good with the puck on his stick. Anyway, the problem here is that really this was the blueprint game for the Raiders, right? Like Jimmy Garoppolo is your starting quarterback. Josh Jacobs averages over 4 yards a carry. You're +2 in the turnover margin, including a pick six on an absolutely awful throw by Goff. And the game was still not competitive. And that's fundamentally an issue. Like, I know the score was close in the second half and this, that, and the other. But, like, if you looked at that game in a vacuum, you would think the Raiders had a realistic chance in that game. And it was never appreciably close where the Lions were in any real danger. It doesn't help that the Raiders allowed 6 sacks. Mm-hmm. And now their star wide receiver wants out, which who didn't see that coming when they traded the quarterback or they got rid of the quarterback that wide receiver wanted to play for. I just wish Adams had said that a week ago so they could have put a trade package.
He ain't going anywhere now.
Today.
Yeah, right.
But this is where the Raiders are. Everything in that game set up exactly the way the Raiders wanted to, and they still weren't competitive against a good team.
Does McDaniels get another year?
I've been wrestling with that. I've been wrestling with that all day. It depends on how they finish.
Okay.
I think they can afford it.
That's the other thing. They're paying so much Charlie Weiss money to John Gruden still. Although I don't know how that works, the whole fired for cause thing, and there's lawsuits going on, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if they're really on the hook for him while that's all ongoing. But even so, Ryan's right. They would owe a lot of money to Josh McDaniels if they got rid of him now. But I think it depends on how they finish. God forbid. I mean, listen, they're 3-5. they're not the worst team in football.
No.
If they finish 7-10, maybe Josh gets another crack at it.
Mm-hmm.
I think 7-10 might be a little ambitious, but if they could squeeze 4 more wins out of this, the problem as a Raiders fan is that, after the John Gruden fallout, Rich Bisaccia got you to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And
Right.
like all Raiders coaches, they railroaded him and brought in the next guy. I assume Mark Fred Jackson will be coaching the Raiders at some point soon.
I love the conductor.
But this is where the Raiders are. This was exactly the kind of game they wanted, and they still lost by 10.
Raiders should just hire Deion Sanders
Man.
now.
No.
Just go crazy.
Oh man,
Just
Drew.
go crazy.
No.
Just do the craziest thing you can do. Because what else is there?
The craziest thing they could do would be to tell Texas A&M that when they fire Jimbo, the Raiders will pick up Jimbo's dead contract and hire him as coach.
Even they're not that dumb. They're not doing that.
No, but if this keeps up, maybe Dabo will be available. I don't think so. I think he's got a lot of rope. But anyway, we'll talk about Dabo later.
Yeah, is he coming up? Okay, good.
Dabo,
Talk.
Dabo.
You can't say anything bad about him. He might come for us.
Yes.
He might come for us. All right. Worst game of all time. The Jets and the Giants.
Iowa didn't even play in this game.
I knew so many people who were at this game. Because once again, for new listeners, we are in New York State. Well, at least Ryan and I are. And I know a lot of Jets fans. I know a lot of Giants fans, and they were all there. And right before they left, a group of them were leaving on Friday together. And I said, like, this game's going to be 9-12. This might be the worst game that it wasn't, but man, was I close.
It's one of the worst games ever. 24 punts. Tommy DeVito played in this game.
-1 passing yard.
-1.
Negative. They walked in the building with more passing yards than they left with. I don't know what the analogy is for that.
Oh, God. It was rough.
I don't know what that is. I can't make fun of it any more than just saying a fact.
Yeah.
That's the sad part. The Jets won. Of course, it went into overtime, too. That's the funniest thing in the world.
There was no other way that was going to end. I'm surprised it didn't end on a safety on a high snap on a punt.
Only a tie would have been better.
Our former host, Killer Greg, was particularly angry at this and texted us throughout the day about how he had money on this game, and of course it went into overtime. And so like whatever happened ruined whatever he needed to happen.
Just by going into overtime, I think it was over.
Rhodey, you're killing me.
We have a cameo by Rhodey the cat.
Oh,
you're killing me, Rhodey. Make a move. There we go. This is my favorite part of this whole game. Tommy DeVito, Syracuse University, pride of Don Bosco Prep in New Jersey, as every Italian kid from New Jersey who plays football is. Not only does he pass for -1 yard, he's going to start again this weekend.
Yes, he is.
He's going to get a second bite at the apple.
Oh, my God.
Jesus, he wasn't good in college, and he's definitely – this is the second year in a row that they put out, like, an awful quarterback. Who did they have out there last year during the stupid, like – kneel down play on third down? Everyone got mad about. Or 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Ryan Nassib, also from Syracuse, wasn't it?
It was 2 years ago, right? They had the really, really bad coach, and they punted it on third down. Remember that whole thing?
Yeah.
Before Dayball, I forget. It was the old-time Georgia quarterback. I forget his name now.
Jake Fromm.
One of those guys.
Yeah.
Was it Fromm?
It was Fromm, yeah.
Yeah.
Geez.
He was real bad in the game.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Total side note. Drew and I went into like I guess a thrift store in Connecticut once, and they had an obscene amount of Jake Fromm merchandise.
Yes, they did. That's true.
And not just here's a couple cards of Jake Fromm. It was like jerseys from Jake Fromm, like multiple Jake Fromm jerseys, multiple signed balls from Jake Fromm. Not just from Georgia when he played for the Bills, when he played for the it was just a very weird situation that somebody has that much Jake Fromm merchandise.
No, no, just somebody was all in on the Jake Fromm bandwagon.
Didn't work out. Okay, that was the worst game ever. This was a fun one. This category is good. The Eagles beat the Commanders. Are the Eagles? What's going on here? The Eagles almost lost to the Commanders for the second time too.
Yeah,
it's the second time they played each other. Commanders played them tough twice.
willing to chalk this up to division game. Like those,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
I've said it forever. Those are wacky. I think the Commanders really came in playing hard, and I think just the talent level showed itself later in the game.
Yeah, they
where the
just
Eagles
ran
pulled
out of
away.
gas there at the end, and AJ Brown just out beefed everybody.
The most important thing that happened in this game was that their Bush push play, which is forever what I will call it,
Fumble.
resulted in a fumble.
That's right.
Yes.
I was talking to a friend at work today who was an Eagles fan, and he's like, just based on turnovers, I know this team keeps winning, but they age me like 6 years every Sunday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Eagles are still good.
They are.
But I think, like I said, it's hard to judge division games. You know each other so well. So, I mean, you know each other's weaknesses. So I'm that's what I'm chalking this one up to. Good on the Commanders, though, I think, for showing up.
My boy, Sam Howell.
Sam Howell, right? Future Maryland coach. Ron
Future
Rivera.
Maryland assistant coach Sam Howell.
Yeah.
Future offensive coordinator Sam Howell.
There you go. So, but yep, good on the Commanders. But I mean, obviously, after today's trades, it's done for Washington this year. So,
besides, he can't. Sam Howell can't go right to offensive coordinator. You know that Ron Rivera would be like, "I'm installing Norv Turner as my offensive coordinator." Like he resurrects someone from the
Junior's son.
I'm in.
Turner the third.
He's from the Norv Turner coaching tree.
Yeah, I guess. Not only did we get the fumble out of the brotherly shove, but we also got the fake brotherly shove for a pitch for a touchdown.
Yes,
we've been waiting for that as well. Both things happened in the same game. It's kind of interesting. They just pitched it out to Swift and he scored. It's like,
I feel like that's not the time to bust that one out.
No, I thought that same thing. What are you doing using that now?
Right. If you do that in the playoffs, that's an amazing moment. Now everyone's going to expect that
on
shit.
to that. You know, what are you doing?
Don't waste it on Ron Rivera.
Why are you wasting it here? Even if you lose to the Commanders, so what?
Yeah, right.
Hold on to it for I didn't understand that either. I was thinking that exact same thing. Like, this is an amazing play.
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing?
Right.
Anyway. All right. Forever 2-2 has a lot of teams in it this time. Forever 2-2, the Titans beat the Falcons. Desmond Ridder got a Ridder. He's out.
Oh, man.
Taylor Heineke's in.
Yep.
This was a potentially changing game for two franchises. One, because Taylor Heineke, in theory, replaces Ridder going forward.
Yep.
And two, Ryan Tannehill may never see the light of day again.
Yeah, because our boy, Milk Ban,
boy.
Get all the milk out of Nashville because he's there, our guy. Yeah. What did he throw? 4 touchdowns?
Yeah, he looked great. He looked awesome.
4 touchdowns from Will Levis in this game.
So once again, Killer Greg, still with us in our hearts, was texting us throughout this one. And I asked him hypothetically, because I know Vrabel. And I said, what would you do if Vrabel showed up on Monday and said, Will Levis played great, but, this is Ryan Tannehill's team. So when he's back from injury, he'll get the nod. And Killer Greg told me that he would go down, find Mike Vrabel, kill him with Greg's own hands. Like, he physically wanted to make sure that his hands were the response. That's what finished off Mike Vrabel. He would have been that angry.
Didn't he say I'd either fight him or lose a fight to him about it?
Yeah. Right.
Either way.
Billy Greg wanted to murder him. But once again, no knives, no guns. His mitts. That's what he wanted to use.
DeAndre Hopkins awoke from a coma.
Yep. It was great. I mean, the Titans look like a completely different team. So
yeah, they did.
You pair that now with the possibility of a deep threat with Derrick Henry, and I think they got something, especially in this in that division. So it'll be interesting to see as they move forward. Who do they got next week? I'm kind of curious now because I feel like that's important. Titans play the Steelers in Pittsburgh, so that should be fun.
I'm trying to find this Killer Greg message here about Will Levis. Hold on.
I liked it though. Like I said, I'm glad that he's doing well. So, and I'm glad this is definitely the end of Tannehill, by the way.
Seems that way.
All right, here's what he said. I can't say all of it.
By the way, also, at least Bijan Robinson played this game.
That's true. He wasn't fake sick or real sick or whatever. It's a good day. This is Killer Greg. It's a good day for everyone except dairy farmers. This guy seems like he has problematic blog posts somewhere. But for now, he's my boy. But for now, he's
Yeah.
my boy.
Could be. Nope.
Oh boy.
Make a decision, Rhodey.
Rhodey's in on this episode. He loves the Orton line.
That's right.
All right, that's enough Titans and Falcons. That's great.
And he's
Getting some screen time.
Yeah.
Saints over Colts. Derek Carr looked like he was above the Orton line this game. He's not, but he looked like he was
Right.
in this one. Colts look like they're trying hard, but really don't have much left.
I was kind of surprised they weren't as active during this trade deadline. Like, I kind of thought after they lost this game, they were like, well, goodbye, Zaire Franklin. Goodbye. They're just going to run down all these guys they just get rid of just for draft picks. But they stayed pat. So
they think they got something. I think they think they got something next year.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's not much to say here. The Saints are for. Yeah, right. They don't, and the Saints are forever 2-2. They're going to lose next week. Jags and Steelers. This was this kind of felt fun at first because I was like, oh, I remember the Garrard versus Roethlisberger in division. Like they had like a little rivalry going there, for a while. And
David Garrard is just so excited somebody mentioned him again.
Me?
Like, what? Honey, get in here.
Just in a Starbucks and drops his coffee. Like,
right.
Do people know I exist? He was a good quarterback.
He was a good quarterback. I liked it.
Yeah, but baby hands his hands got even smaller.
Yeah.
What's the small two toothpicks? That's all it was.
As long as Tomlin's there, though, this team will hover around 500 or go slightly above it or go slightly below it. But they're not going to bomb out. And they're not going to, I don't think with this squad, go, win 14 games or 13 games any point in the near future. So, but baby hands, still a lot to sift through there. I'm not going to give up on that guy.
You know who I'm giving up on, though? Mitch Trubisky, who showed up in this game.
Yeah.
He is just cooked. I don't know what. All of his best skills are not being put to use, too. That's the other thing that's crazy to me is like his best stuff is running and rolling out and stuff. They just like had him be a pocket passer. What are we doing here? Well, we'll see. He might have to start this week because Pickett's injured, so he might have to start again.
Yeah, there's a little concern there because he does seem to be fighting concussions a lot now. And usually, you know what? Take a couple weeks.
Yeah,
don't try to come back. See Tua.
You might want to sit out. All right, one more forever 2-2 is the Seahawks beat the Browns. Every single time the Seahawks have a game, it's weird. Every single time the Browns have a game, it's weird. And then they put their powers together in this one. We're all over the map.
There's no team I understand less than the Browns.
Yeah.
And that will stay true for the duration of the season.
Yeah. I feel like what's his name? Schwartz, their defensive coordinator. I feel like he's actively working against their head coach, which I kind of like.
I hope that's true.
Like, I feel like he just does, like, he acts like this is his team and doesn't respond to anything the head coach tells him. So that's kind of fun.
There's definitely a lot going on that we're going to hear about in the offseason.
There's a shit ton going on with that team. This whole Deshaun Watson thing, like he's a scumbag piece of shit. I would like to get that in there. So is Pete Carroll, but for different reasons. So, but like I feel like something happened that either they're trying to cover up or Watson is pissed off about that it hasn't come to light, and we're going to hear about it. At some point during this year, we're going to hear about this, and it's going to be amazing.
This is one of those ones where like the team might go like whatever, like 500 or 9-8 or whatever it is, and Stefanski's going to get fired, and everyone's going to go, why? And then like 2 months later, we're going to find out why, because Deshaun had something to do with it.
Yep, I can see that.
All right, category back on track. The Bills defeated the Bucs on Thursday night. Are they back on track?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. They started the game, as we talked about on the podcast. They started the game in the no huddle. I got so excited. It was exactly what I wanted to see. And then they gave up. It worked, and then they gave up on it because that's Ken Dorsey, baby. Never met a successful offense he didn't hate. So they look. I'm glad they got the ball to Kincaid and Shakir, who I think are very underutilized in that offense. Hopefully, moving forward, it is similar. The problem that I had was they were up by 2 scores, and the Bucs at that point realized time to go after these corners who are not good, and then they started moving the ball and started to go after these linebackers who aren't good. And it was a lot of short stuff, and it took a long time, but the Bucs were able to move the ball because these guys are young and inexperienced. So, if the Bucs can do it, anybody can do it. So that's a concern moving forward. Now they did trade for Rasul Douglas today, I saw.
Yes.
And he is good. So that is helpful. So we'll see how that should at least provide some sort of stability there. And obviously the biggest news of the week is Leonard Fournette, a Buffalo Bill now. I mean, how excited. That's amazing. I hope he plays linebacker. So,
remember when Leonard Fournette was supposed to be the best running back of all time? He was going to be the next Jim Brown.
College,
so he should just sit out every college game because he's going to be Jim Brown.
There was a time when he was in college that I thought he honestly was going to be the next
Me too.
greatest running back in the NFL. Holy shit! Some of those games
did not happen.
Nope, did not happen.
But
he had a fine career. But
yeah,
I'm so glad that Buffalo was on Leonard Fournette's Chinese government approved Yishan Lian list of teams that could pick him up acceptably.
Yeah.
Mark, I've known you for roughly 30 years now.
Yep.
And you've had strong opinions on several Bills offensive coordinators over the years. Rate Ken Dorsey versus some of the other ones you've had complaints with.
He is, even with all of his bullshit, he's still top 3.
There it is.
But I mean, look at who they were dealing with for the longest time. I'm sorry. Alex Van Pelt and his offense. That was something I'd love to forget. There is just some abysmal offensive coordinators. I put Daboll actually at number 2 behind Marcia Broda. That's about it.
I remember the distinct phases of Kevin Kilbride. Kilbride. Good, bad, good, bad, good.
Yeah. Dorsey is just, I mean, honestly, if they, I'm not of the belief, I talked about in the last episode, that the Bills offense needs a lot of work. I think it just needs a little bit of refinement, and they just need to get a little bit comfortable. But I feel like the pieces are there. I feel like Dorsey's an idiot sometimes, but it's the defense that's going to be the problem. And hopefully Rasul helps, I like his nickname is Zool. That's fun. As a Ghostbusters fan, that's fun.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
A good nickname.
Yep.
Only a 3rd round pick. It's not bad.
And they got a 5th rounder back.
Getting a 5th back.
Very weird trade.
It is a weird trade.
Yeah.
Very weird. But hey, yeah. Bills back on track. Cowboys crushed your Rams, Mark.
My Cowboys.
My Rams.
Yeah,
your Cowboys.
My Cowboys beat your Rams. Yes.
This is the ultimate Cowboys are gonna crush game. They love to win big in these scenarios.
They love to win big against teams that are 8-8. Yes, they do.
Yeah, they'll these frauds. They crush these last year against Tampa when they crushed them in the playoffs. It's they are just ready for that. They can do that, and they did it here. Dolphins over. Okay, you got any Cowboy?
No, the only thing I was gonna say is that Stafford looked
bad,
about as shot as I've seen any quarterback look. And it sucks, but this is he probably shouldn't even played this year. He was good. He was okay for the first couple of games when his arm wasn't jelly, but it's at this point they need to possibly think about finding somebody else to do the rest of the season because he cannot do this anymore.
Well, he got knocked out. He was injured in the game,
it was rough to watch.
Brett Rippon made an appearance.
Yeah.
He's no good.
Against everybody in the Rippon family for obvious reasons.
It made me sad because Stetson Bennett had to step away from the team for personal reasons or whatever.
Right.
I was really looking forward to the moment he was going to show up.
He's a polarizing character.
Yes.
If you have played quarterback for the Denver Broncos in the past 10 years and your name is not explicitly Peyton Manning, you should not be in an NFL game.
You suck. You truly suck. Except for Drew Lock. We're not sure about him yet. No. We're sure about him. Okay. All right. We're sure about him.
I don't want no Trevor Siemian around my team.
Listen, he's not Paxton Lynch or anything.
Yeah.
But I don't think Drew Lock is going to come in and be a franchise savior.
No.
All right. Dolphins beat the Patriots.
Yep.
Yeah,
Pretty convincingly.
yeah, easy.
The one thing I took away from this game watching it was the touchdown that Waddle scores at the end. He scores that touchdown on the kind of mistake by the defense that the Patriots have not made in my adult life.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, that's all, know your assignment, do your job, or whatever the banal thing is that they repeat through cutoff sweatshirts. And, like, that's a play where they put a guy in motion and two defenders went with the wrong guy. And the Patriots just don't make that kind of mistake until this year. The wheels really seem to be coming off.
And also, I mean, the guy who is really showing up on offense for them, Kendrick Bourne, out for the year now.
Yes,
I mean, that's a horribly unfortunate and just, a freak thing, but that sucks. Like, he was honestly one of the only guys who was showing any sort of life.
I'm trying to think the last time the Patriots had a bad defense in our lifetime. And it's got to be prior to what, 95?
It would have been the Drew Bledsoe year, the year before they got Drew Bledsoe.
93?
Yeah.
Something like that, because they had Bill Parcells at one point, and then they had Pete Carroll at one point. Both those guys are pretty good defensive coaches. So, and then they had, of course, Goody
Cornell after that. So there's got to be a narrow window in there, probably just after they lose the Super Bowl to the Packers.
Right.
Maybe that year after. But yeah, they've been good on defense for a long fucking time. So. Also in the category of back on track, the Bengals are back on track. They looked really good. They beat the Niners. The Niners defense did not look good. They're dealing with injuries, but
Bengals
Brock Purdy was awful.
They had a great game plan, which was make Brock Purdy play quarterback.
Yeah.
And it worked. Like, that was exactly what you wanted to do. They baited him in.
And Joe Burrow seems to take singular joy in taking down top teams in the league.
Yeah,
he does.
Yes.
Yep.
He was up for this one,
and he looks healthy.
Great.
He looks like he's able to plant now, which is what he was not able to do in the first couple of games. They got their swagger back, so I think the Bengals are back.
The most interesting play was that one where Purdy rolled out right in the red zone, and like duck-handed a ball right off to, was it Pratt on the Bengals, and Pratt just picked it off and should have scored. The game should have been way uglier.
Mm-hmm.
He just accidentally stepped out of bounds when he had a clear path to the end zone, which that is maybe one of the ugliest plays I've seen Purdy make. It was bad.
He's better than his draft position, but I mean,
is Deebo Samuel the only? Is that like the main issue here? Because is the only guy out? So
I don't think so. I just think people have caught up with it. They know what they know how to beat a Brock Purdy led team now, and that's
once you accumulate enough film on somebody, there's a good chance you can at least make them work for it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Final category is: has there ever been a win that was a complete disaster? Well, the Vikings did that when they when they beat the Packers here. They lost Kirk Cousins to an Achilles tear.
This might be
ruining it. Yeah, right. Is it for his time with Minnesota?
I was thinking his career. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, certainly Minnesota. The complication for Kirk was if you looked at the Orton line, there were teams under Minnesota who would have been happy to say, all right, let's get Kirk Cousins for a couple of years until we figure out what we're going to do in the draft. That may not be an option anymore.
Yeah, right. I mean, you come back from Achilles is different. Like, a lot of guys don't come back from it. Some guys do, but it's going to come up to how he rehabs on this.
And this is not a Rodgers situation either. Like, it's not like he heard it in play 1 of week 1.
Right.
He's heard it halfway through the season, which means
he probably won't be available for September next year.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Whoever would take him can't use him in the first part of the season, probably.
Yep.
So this is really, really bad. I mean, if I'm the Vikings, I wouldn't want him back for that reason alone. Just like, we don't know if he's going to be available. So why are we doing this? Like, let's not do this. I could see him not being signed until late summer.
Doesn't it make too much sense that Indianapolis would sign him as a backup?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be his future. Or maybe maybe you're right. Maybe he just Romos himself and just leaves. Like, remember Romo's last year?
Yeah.
Like, Cowboys released him and it's like, okay, well, he's going to become the Broncos quarterback. And he's like, you know what? I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Too many injuries. I'm not doing it. I could see that happening. But yeah, it was sad. I felt bad for him because
we rip on him all the time, but like, you
Yeah.
know, he is. It seems like he's a very good person.
Yeah.
I read that he did this. You know, he obviously got the injury, but then came back for like the Vikings trick or treat.
He had
event.
surgery and then came back and did that.
That's awesome. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, I hope he recovers. I definitely think this is the end of him with the Vikings, but let's hope his career keeps going.
We'll see. All right, segment time. Starting with Sad Boy Boat. Pretty interesting because no Broncos again.
Taylor Swift.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Taylor.
Yep.
She goes on the Sad Boy Boat.
Can Tommy DeVito, right? Like, how do you throw for -1 yards in the modern NFL?
I like, right. Let's pause for a moment. And the only two people on the boat are Taylor Swift and
Tommy DeVito.
Who would have thought those two would be together in any way?
I saw you with Cats. You were great.
Taylor and Tommy DeVito.
Right.
Okay. It's good too.
No, that's it. That's it.
No?
Right there.
We have
I
to
feel like
even.
I don't know. I feel like
They're stuck having awkward conversation on this boat.
All right, never mind. Yeah, I like this idea.
All right,
I'm on board.
fine.
And it's like a 4-hour boat ride.
Yeah. Really? It's just the two of us?
Yeah.
Tommy's really excited. Yeah.
Tommy's totally asking her if she's ever eaten a ripper from Rutt's Hut in northern Jersey.
Yeah.
Like, these
I
conversations
fucking heard
are
you were
happening.
Dazzler, right?
Oh boy. All right. Wow.
I like it.
Oh my God. All right.
An awkward.
I will say the boat has departed. Devontae Adams standing on shore holding his ticket, upset that he missed the boat, but
Yeah.
he's not on the boat. It's just
He's not
those
on the
two
boat.
on the boat.
I was supposed to be on that with Derek Carr. I have 2 tickets. You left me
Dayball's
behind.
Dayball's got his his Sea-Doo.
His jet ski's totally out of
Yeah, right,
gas.
just there.
It's just
But still
upside down. It's just capsized.
Data.
Got a big hole in it. You just see a little straw going out. That's how he's breathing. All right, broadcasting moments of the week. We have no Greg's bets because Greg
Again?
is just completely out of it. All right, first one is the Boomer Sooner thing fell over. Did you see this?
That thing falls over like once every 2 years.
Yeah, it fell over. Here
They
it is.
do their best to not make it fall over, but yeah, I don't know that those students really know how to drive a team of horses.
No, they don't.
What is it like? Where like I guess the University of Georgia has like a very strict guidelines of the frat who gets to watch over Uga.
Yes,
Like you have that like hit like all these criteria, take all these tests to watch Uga, which I love.
It's the same with TCU and their actual horned frogs. And,
oh, really?
Well, because like 15 years ago, the frogs got out, and I think one of them got ran over by a car.
Oh.
So they tightened it up.
And does anyone care about Smokey?
No, Colorado, the same. If you want to
yeah.
run with Ralphie the Buffalo, there are significant testing you have to go through before they allow you to run with a live buffalo.
Don't get in front of it. I think is probably lesson number one.
And don't get behind it because it'll drag you.
This one cracked me up. It's Will Levis apology form. To Will Levis from whoever, write your name in. Reasons for my behavior. I don't like mayonnaise in my coffee. I actually watch you in college football. I was jealous of your rocket arm. I made fun of you for eating a banana peel. The media convinced me you sucked. I didn't think a QB from Kentucky could be good. And then finally, this little check box that you have to put here. I hereby will respect Will Levis and not talk down on this future first ballot Hall of Famer. So you can fill this out. Send that to Will. I did not know about the banana peel. I feel like I've researched this man extensively. I didn't know about the banana peel part, but send one to Will. Mine would probably be I don't like mayonnaise in my coffee. I think that would be the one.
I just like Greg's theory that he has problematic tweets somewhere that are going to come to.
He said problematic blog posts.
Yes, right.
Which is even funnier.
I'm enjoying that the longer we talk about this, the more times I get to watch the Sooner Schooner fall over.
Yes.
There it goes again.
All right, here's this one. Best Halloween costume NFL is this child dressed up as Mike McDaniel.
That's pretty good.
Little play sheet, got the Rolex. He runs off. He's even got his little sweatpants rolled up like Mike. It's a good one. This kid wins Halloween. Of course, the Broncos playing Taylor Swift. We had to put that in there. This is for you, Drew. When asked about fixing the Raiders' offense, Josh Jacobs' response was, quote,
"That ain't my job.
That ain't my job."
Oh my god.
Oh, boy.
This team would be amazing on Hard Knocks, except that Hard Knocks won't go there because they're not competitive.
Yeah, right. Well, they went to the Jets.
Oh god.
This is Jahmyr Gibbs jumping into the audience and
jumping is
lifting him in.
Yeah, I'm about to say
this lady like just drags him into the stands.
She did not skip arm day.
No, that's not a good look for
that.
Jahmyr Gibbs. By the
Look
way.
at that. He's a small boy. He's tiny boned.
He's a tiny guy, but
he's
still.
tiny boned.
Yeah.
She fucking hoists him in there. Look at this.
Yeah. Come here.
Careful, you're gonna slip a disc.
And like you wonder, like, did he know who she was? Like, is that why he went there?
Right.
Maybe. And then finally, you're not gonna hear this, but our guy Biff was at it again.
Right. What a rant.
It's just football, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
All you do is block, tackle people.
Don't do stuff that'll hurt us.
Just the part where he says, we're like a sausage being made. It's a horrifying experience. That's the quote of the century from a coach.
Biff, the head coach of Charlotte, is that right?
Yep.
University of Charlotte,
which will bring us.
And by the way, has like a 9-figure net worth.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he was an investment guy before he became a high school football coach.
No way.
Yeah.
That'll conveniently and neatly bring us into the Stripe Spiral.
Oh boy.
Which there's a lot to say.
So, counting off the things we always keep track of, and then there were 8. We're now down to 8 undefeated teams because Oklahoma goes down to Kansas. Good for Kansas. I thought weeks ago they were primed to take down somebody. I thought it was going to be Texas. It turned out to be Oklahoma. Kansas is a fun watch, man.
Yeah.
And now the Big 12's in play again between Oklahoma and Texas, 2 teams who, oh, by the way, won't be in the Big 12 next year. But we're down to 8 undefeated teams. The first college football playoff rankings have come out.
And Liberty is number 1. All right.
I was gonna say, in which case, and now there are two undefeated teams not ranked in the college football playoff rankings. One of them makes sense, which is James Madison, because they're ineligible for postseason play, so the conference committee can't really pick them anyway. But then Liberty...
Damn right.
Liberty gets no respect at all, despite being 8-0. They're the Rodney Dangerfield of college football.
I am riding the Liberty train all the way to the college football playoffs, Drew.
They ain't making it.
How dare you?
And of course, and then there was one. Sam Houston State leading UTEP going into the fourth quarter blows it. So they are our only remaining team in the FBS, which has not won a game. They get Kennesaw State this Saturday. If they don't beat Kennesaw State, it could all go south. They get Middle Tennessee at the end of the season, and Middle Tennessee also sucks, but this is their best chance, because I think this is Kennesaw State's first year in the FCS, moving up from Division II. If they can't beat this team, I'm not sure they can beat anybody. In the meantime, so the first college playoff rankings are out.
Yep.
I don't have any fundamental disagreement with the first college playoff rankings, except this, and I've never felt this way about the committee's rankings before in any given week. This felt like they were just trying to properly list the 25 teams worth talking about going into next week.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the 5 undefeated teams, then it was all the 1-loss teams, and then it was all the 2-loss teams that they care about. And then right at the end, Tulane above Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
So they're checking all their boxes, right? Like a non-Power 5 team, 2 non-Power 5 teams that are competitive, all the 2-loss teams we care about, all the 1-loss teams we care about, all the undefeated teams at the top. And to me, the trigger is Missouri at 12 and the House of Brahm at 13. Because does anybody really I'm all in on Missouri. Good for them, especially if they beat Georgia this weekend. They won't.
Oh God, yeah.
But
what?
But Missouri and Louisville 12 and 13. Does anybody really think they're better than LSU at 14 or Notre Dame at 15 or Utah at 18?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're better than those 2-loss teams. But the committee put all the 1-loss teams and then all the 2-loss teams and then threw in their group of 5 teams they don't care about at the end. it was mildly surprising that Tulane was above Air Force, only because Air Force is undefeated. But I think the general consensus is if those two teams played, Tulane would win that game more often than not. Tulane's pretty good. In the meantime, did I think it was funny that Washington was 5 and Florida State 4? Yeah, okay, a little. I think that was the one thing where I would have flipped them. I don't know that I would have had Ohio State first. Like, I'm a believer in, like, Georgia's the 2-time defending champ until they're not.
I agree. They've won, 24 games in a row or something like that? Something ridiculous. Like, they should be number one. But a wise man once said, to beat the man, or to be the man, you have to beat the man. He then took his shirt off and then elbow dropped it.
Yeah. But, I'm not going to stand here and complain that Ohio State's number 1 and Georgia's number 2. 1, because this is going to work itself out with the Dick Steppers. And 2, because, you can argue that Georgia hasn't looked that great this year.
Yeah.
By the way, side note of the Dick Steppers, the FBI showed up on campus this week, which one of my coworkers was like, doesn't the FBI have better things to do than worry about college football? To which my answer was, consider this the other direction. If the FBI is on campus, this might not be about college football anymore.
Yeah.
You've gotten into something much more serious.
Like half an hour before we went live with this podcast, more stuff came out about how Central Michigan
thinks they saw him on their sideline. Yeah.
Right.
You want me to, I have that article pulled up.
Yeah. How did he get there with credential? There's a lot going on here.
Connor Stallions in a photo.
I sincerely hope that the Chippewas are the ones who bring this whole thing down. I would love to see the Chippewas bring it crashing around Jim Harbaugh's ears.
With a credential reading VB for visitor bench area.
Right.
What the hell? It's like the Bobby.
Either he was assigned that, which is
Bobby
crazy,
with the mustache.
Or he made it himself, which is crazy.
Right. And especially, this goes back to what we talked about last week with this guy's, social media profile, where he's like, I'm a weakness analyst and our adversary. This is some Bobby Valentine shit where he just buys a CMU sweatshirt and shows up on their sideline with a fake
mustache. Yeah.
Which that's fucking crazy.
Also, if Michigan, this goes back to the Miami FIU fight years ago. If Michigan thinks Central Michigan is a problem, Michigan's already in trouble.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Why do they care?
All respect to the Chippewas, but Michigan would put Central Michigan under their boot. They would put any directional Michigan team under their boot.
How dare you disrespect East Michigan like that?
Southern Michigan is so upset right now.
Max Crosby, Eastern Michigan.
Eastern Michigan. They named the field after him. Did you hear that?
I did see that. That's good
cool.
for him.
Yeah.
That's good for him. So right now, because Kansas beats Oklahoma, everything we talked about with the committee being in a hard spot last week is now made significantly easier. Yeah. The committee wants nothing to change from here forward because their job gets real easy. Because they've got 5 undefeated teams. Michigan and Ohio State will play each other. You would have 4 undefeated power conference champions.
There you go.
Wipe your hands and roll out. Now, that's not the way it's going to end. There's still a lot of games to be played. But we've gone from the nightmare scenario to the dream scenario for the committee immediately until Liberty runs the table. And then they're forced with they're forced to face a bunch of Liberty fans who, by the way, probably attended Liberty University, which was Jerry Falwell's university. So that's a particular breed of person that might be breathing down the committee's neck.
So wait, Liberty, by the way, is that in Virginia?
Yeah,
I think. Okay. Lynchburg, I think, right?
That part I'd have to check. That I don't know.
But they're definitely in Virginia.
Yes, 100%.
Okay. That's fun. I want to see them take out Virginia Tech.
They might. Virginia Tech's not that good, although they looked like world beaters against Cuse last week.
It's not hard.
Bath salts flowing.
Yeah. So Oregon thoroughly stomps out Utah. So much for that. Bo Nix looks like Bo Nix looks like the second coming of Marcus Mariota against Utah, undermanned without their quarterback. So Utah officially eliminated. But you know what this means? This just makes Utah the prime ruiners of the Pac-12 that they always are. They're going to come back and beat a whole bunch of people and disqualify the Pac-12 from having nice things. Nebraska beats Purdue. Only needs one more win for bowl eligibility.
What? Right. I hate it.
No. UNC, Drake May's dad, really in a tizzy right now. UNC lost to Georgia Tech, who, by the way, has a couple of really awful wins on their schedule and a couple of really amazing wins on their schedule. I mean, the bonkers Cristobal upset at Miami, and now they've taken down UNC. UNC played so badly, they went from AP ranked top 25 to not ranked in the college football playoff rankings. They are out of the top 25 entirely. I thought they'd hang in there, but they're gone. USC taken to the wall against Cal, but they win by 1 point, 50-49, solely because of Caleb Williams. Like, this is not that it matters necessarily because they're a 2-loss team, but this is the kind of game that, like, if God forbid, if he's a Heisman candidate, this game weighs heavily. Because it's a game they should have won, and the defense let them down, and he single-handedly led them back and was responsible for something like 6 touchdowns on it.
And didn't this end too with Cal like making the decision to go for 2? Wasn't that how this ended? Okay, which I think fucking ballsy. I love that.
I think you have to do that.
Oh,
I think that's why Colorado State lost to Colorado, because they didn't do that.
Right.
They had 2 opportunities to end that game and didn't do it. They went for the tie instead, and then ultimately lost.
I respect you, Booker, man. Like, I really like that. I love going for that at the end. Yeah.
Why not?
You got the juice now. Hood. No, man. No. Anyway, push Tupac off a roof, whatever. Speaking of Colorado, they lost to UCLA. I think everybody kind of saw that coming. The glitter is off of Colorado for now. They are a very talented team on offense, but a very untalented team on defense. And that's going to be the cross they bear.
But as you mentioned bore, at least Neon's very honest about it. Like, he's just like,
is.
We don't have enough players to be competitive. And you're like, okay. Yeah.
You know, and he's already got dudes in the top 300 saying that they're going to come to Colorado. Like, he's going to have a better team next year than he has this year. Yep. But my favorite story of the week is the complete unraveling in Clemson radio after Clemson loses to NC State, and somebody calls Dabo and is like, hey, you make a lot of money. How come the team sucks? And Dabo goes off in a way we've never seen Dabo go off. Like, these people are unappreciative of all the work I've done here. And if this school doesn't want me here, then I'll find somewhere else to coach.
You can apply for the job, he said?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he told the fan, you can apply for the job. And then he doubled down. He went back on there today and is like, these haters won't steal my joy. And like, I don't know, something. So like Dabo's turning into Godfather 3 Dabo before our eyes. And unless or until he like bends his personal hatred of the transfer portal, he could be in real trouble because guys are going to transfer out of Clemson, and he's got to find guys who want to transfer in.
Yep.
And he's been reluctant to do that. And I respect the hell out of Dabo because 2 national championships and a perennial title contender there for years. But I don't think, especially with Brent Venables being gone and being the coach at Oklahoma, I don't think anybody thinks that Dabo is like a superior X's and O's coach versus some of his contemporaries. Like, he's not Kirby, he's not Saban, he's not a lot of these other coaches. Unless or until he finds a way to make his roster better, Clemson could be in trouble. Not that I think he's in immediate danger, but 3 or 4 years, maybe not even 3 or 4 in the current climate, 2 or 3 of these years, and he could be in trouble there.
Yeah.
And the more he blows up on randos on the radio, the worse it looks.
I want more of this.
It reminds me of
Jalen
Silent Bob Strike Back, where they get all the internet commenters and they go to their house and punch them out one by one. Are you Tyler from Spartanburg? Why, yes, I am. Bam.
And this is so like out of character for Dabo, and that's what makes it all the more delicious.
Yeah. Like, I often wonder, like, if Spurrier came along like 30 years later and was in the world of social media, how hysterical he would be.
Oh, he'd be Dion.
He would be Dion.
He'd be Dion. He would have figured that shit out. He'd be way out in front of it.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, my God. Hysterical.
Oh,
all right.
Wait. Sorry. One last thing while I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
If you're looking for games to watch this weekend.
Yes.
The 3:30 window is going to be your best bet. Missouri at Georgia. Might be the other way around. Might be Georgia at Missouri. But either way, Georgia, Missouri at 3:30. And then also at 3:30, Bedlam. 1-loss Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. And not that this game carries any great import, except that there's been a lot of chatter from Oklahoma State about their disappointment that the Bedlam rivalry will not continue.
Right.
So this is their last shot at Oklahoma, and they know that if they win, they can knock Oklahoma out of playoff contention.
Oh, that's fun.
And then hold that over their heads for years.
Last parting
for forever. Yeah.
Right. I love it. All right. Time for a foo bar.
Time for
Football
foo
bar. Who's going into the Idiot Hall of Fame this week?
So it's been pointed out to me recently by some listeners that the last couple inductions are kind of depressing. So just to refresh memory, it was Pac-Man, it was Bobby Jones, and it was Freddie Mitchell. So they all had chaotic careers, but they all ended badly. Like one of them, it's basically one got into a fight on an airliner. The last thing we heard of him. One is failing at Texas A&M. One is in prison for tax fraud. Like these aren't like happy endings to these players' careers. Okay, so we're gonna change that today. I'm gonna preface this before I go into it with at least this story does have a happy ending. This person is doing extremely well now, and we'll talk about that.
It's Najee Davenport again.
Yeah, one more time. It's a bumpy ride though to get there. Okay. So today we're gonna be talking about the storied career, one season career of Maurice Clarett.
Yes. As soon as you said happy ending, I was like, fuck, it's Maurice Clarett.
Yes. So regarded as a top 100 recruit and coming out of high school, Clarett was lured to Ohio State by future football FUBAR inductee, no doubt, Jim Tressel,
God,
who never met a college football rule he didn't want to defile.
Right.
Yep. I literally was doing research for Maurice Clarett, and I just saved a lot of Jim Tressel stuff for later because holy shit, was that man corrupt.
This is my favorite Jim Tressel moment is when Rich Rod was the coach at Michigan, which was a bumpy era in and of itself.
Oh, I love that era.
Rich Rod was accused of stealing recruits who were a verbal commit to Ohio State. And they asked Jim Tressel about it, and somebody said, "Isn't there a gentleman's agreement in the Big Ten that once somebody's a verbal commit, that all recruiting by other schools stops?" And Tressel said, "There is an agreement among gentlemen." Anyway, continue.
So Clarett, as a freshman, and this is what everyone always remembers about him, because literally this is his only season of college or NFL football that doesn't involve minor league football. He exploded onto the scene, 1,200 yards, 18 rushing touchdowns as a freshman, lead the Buckeyes to a 14-0 record and a national championship in 2002. He also very notably in that game, Craig Krenzel threw an interception, which of course he did. It was Craig Krenzel.
Yeah.
And then he actually threw it to Sean Taylor, a very heads-up play by Maurice Clarett, punched the ball out of Sean Taylor as he was running to the end zone, recovered the fumble. Ohio State would go on to tie the game and then win it after that because of it really just a heads-up play by Maurice Clarett. So we always talk about, if this player wasn't on this team, they wouldn't have won this game. 100% would not have won that game without that heads-up play. So Clarett, top of the world, and then everything, as usual, went to shit. So it started in the 2002 offseason. Actually, during the season, he would get into screaming matches with his coaches on the sidelines, and people chalk that up to just him being 18 and an idiot, which we were all 18. We were all idiots. That makes sense. So that was almost forgiven. He criticized the university because they didn't reimburse him for travel fees when he went to go to his friend's funeral, which, once again, making this public is a little strange, but they got past it. What they didn't get past, however, was during the 2003 offseason, news broke out that Clarett was receiving, quote, preferential treatment by Ohio State's academic department. Now, how preferential, you may ask? He actually never went to any class. Ever. Not a single class his freshman year. Obviously, when this news broke, the NCAA was mortified. They were concerned. They were pissed that Ohio State got caught doing what everybody does.
Yeah.
That's basically what the NCAA was pissed at. They then punished Maurice Clarett, which once again seems weird because Ohio State allowed this to happen, and suspended him for the year, for the 2003 season. This is where, by his own admission, he started experimenting with drugs and alcohol because he was fucking depressed, and is what it is, He vowed after all this, because he basically felt Ohio State didn't defend him, and he's kind of right. He vowed to never play college football again. He successfully petitioned the Supreme Court to be allowed into the 2005 NFL draft, and was actually drafted in the third round, which a lot of people thought he would go undrafted because of, during this time, things had happened, and we'll touch on it a little bit later on. But he was drafted by the Broncos at the end of the third round. He just never could get on the field. It was injuries. It was off the field stuff. So he never actually played it down in the NFL in the regular season. I think he did play some preseason, but never any regular season. And January 1st of 2006, he was arrested in an armed robbery attempt outside of, and this is true, the Opium Lounge strip club in Columbus, which has to employ the most grim strippers. I've never been, but
the F Squad.
Mournful. Mournful.
So I was thinking that same thing.
Yeah. He was armed with a .45 handgun. He robbed two people for what amounted to about $150 and apprehended by police. Once again, years later, he was heavily under the influence of drugs when he did all this. It was discovered that he was in debt by this point for $1.5 million because all the money he spent to try to get into the NFL, to all these lawyer fees and things that he had.
Petitioning the Supreme Court ain't cheap.
Yeah.
Because you don't really think about that, but like, yeah, how did he afford lawyers? He was a 19-year-old kid, and he was just taking out loans and doing all sorts of crazy shit. So he was in debt to about $1.5 million. He was then hit with another $1 million bond for the armed robbery. But it wasn't just the armed robbery conviction that got him this $1 million bond. While on bail, Claret was arrested again on August 6, 2006 for an illegal U-turn. Okay? Just got busted for that. He immediately became combative with the cops, was dragged out of his car, screaming at the top of his lungs that the Israeli mafia was after him. The cops restrained him, both handcuffs, leg cuffs, and they gagged him because he was spitting at the cops. And when they searched his car, they found 2 unlicensed loaded handguns, an unlicensed loaded AK-47, a Japanese katana, a Chinese horse chopping saber, and an open bottle of Grey Goose. Maurice spent the next 4 years in jail. But here's the thing. I promised you a happy ending here. Okay? And there is a happy ending. Unlike 95% of football FUBAR inductees, he has completely turned his life around. He started a lot of foundations, everything from combating depression to drug and alcohol abuse amongst underprivileged youth. He became a consultant for numerous universities to mentor players and help them focus on bettering themselves, their players on and off the field. He serves in the Youngstown Regional Chamber of Commerce in Ohio and has mended fences with Ohio State. They brought him back a couple of times to speak to students and recognize him for that 2002 national championship team. So you know what? Everything's okay. Maurice is doing wonderful. He's got a great podcast too. If you haven't listened to it, it's really good. He talks about business, but he also talks about like the struggles of athletes and how they're being exploited. He was big on the whole NIL debate. He gave a lot of votes of confidence to make this happen so players can get compensated. So Maurice, welcome to Football FUBAR for what you did on the field and what you did from the early 2000s. And we're glad you're symbolically not in there from everything you've done since then. So Maurice Claret, Football FUBAR.
Wow.
What did he run at the combine?
Oh, it was like 4.8.
4.8 or something like that.
Right.
But I remember somebody saying when he was in college, for a kid who didn't have a lot of formal education, part of the reason he ended up petitioning the Supreme Court, I mean, yes, okay, he was on the outs with Ohio State, but like he had figured out like down to the dollar what every carry was costing, what all of his career carries were worth.
Yeah.
And like how many career carries between college and pros he could anticipate having, and had figured out that it was in his best interest to try and get paid for those carries as early as he could.
Yep. The more I did research on him, like I was in agreement with a lot of his stuff. He just made some bad life choices along the way, which once again, you forget sometimes that these are kids. These are 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds who are making bad choices. And, he paid for it and then he's completely turned it around. I watched a little video of him at Ohio State and he's just very open about how he fucked up and how he behaved and he was immature. And, but I do feel like even today, he still feels like he's in the right because I do believe he was.
Right.
He was definitely being exploited.
He probably thought he was going to get paid millions of dollars and have a long career, and that wasn't going to be a problem. And that's right too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. A happy ending. I like it.
A happy ending. Right.
Happy
Very
ending.
few of those in football FUBAR, but
happy ending. I mentioned the Jay Davenport a little bit ago. Every once in a while, I try to like compile old NFL games and put them together on YouTube, and I found a game where he was in it. He was playing for the Packers, and he took the opening kickoff, and it made me laugh.
The dump truck.
The Jay Davenport returning kicks.
It's one of my favorite. I mean, I think that was our first football FUBAR because it is one of my personal favorite stories. To wake up at 3 a.m. to see a guy in your closet.
It's one of those benign stories that doesn't really have a happy ending, but it's also sort of harmless.
Yes, right, exactly.
Like it's totally bonkers, but it was a
mistake.
Kind of
he wasn't trying to be a creep. It was a total mistake.
Yeah.
All right. Game balls. Got a game ball for me, Drew?
I'm going to give my game ball to the much maligned DeAndre Ayton, who shook off the haters with 23 rebounds in a win last night. Change of scenery's done that man good.
Oh, man.
23 rebounds. That's some Moses Malone shit right
Yes,
there.
that is. That's crazy.
I love it. All right, Mark, you got a game ball?
Sure do. Milk Boy gets my game ball because, like, out of the blue, comes
Fan
out of
milk.
nowhere, does wonderful, rejuvenates Greg's interest in the Titans, which I like. I like an invested Greg. Anytime anybody has any opinions,
I'm currently in. He's my boy.
Yes. Yep. So until those blog posts get revealed, Will Levis.
All right, my game ball goes to Kyle Orton, wherever you are. Thank you for your contributions to the world of football and the Orton line. Yeah,
I always look forward to the Orton line. It's gonna.
And how many names are different?
Yes,
can't wait to
right.
compare those two. All right, plugs. Bloody Good Music. What do we got this week? We had the Blink 182 album last week.
Yes.
Bloody Good Music this week. An unimportant review by me on the album that releases in a couple of weeks from Robots of the Ancient World, which, if it sounds like that's a Stoner Doom record, that's because it is a Stoner Doom record. But it's remarkably good. It's like if Misfits era Danzig sang for like self-titled era Clutch. It's quite good. But much more importantly, Chris comes back on the heels of his Blink 182 review with a very thoughtful review on the Taylor's version of 1989.
Oh, Taylor's version.
Quite good.
Taylor's version. Right. Chris is in the comments of many of these videos, so you can.
Hi, Chris.
Chris is wonderful.
You can interact with him down below. And our other plug is the TGI podcast records tomorrow night.
Yes.
So B side characters taking the spotlight, which may include one of the best little sections. I don't know if it's the best episode. We always rank those episodes, and it doesn't always quite shake out how you think it's going to. But Mr. Gorpley in Perfect Strangers is always a favorite, and he takes center stage in this episode. And wow.
Yep.
It's incredible. It's an incredible performance by him. It's one we've been trying to do for a while. That's the interesting thing about these set of episodes is all episodes we've kind of talked around, like we should do this one, but we can't find other ones that match. They're all kind of jammed into this one. Mm-hmm. So it should be interesting. But Gorpley, who you probably don't know, but you should, is so damn funny in this episode.
It's a real good one. We also have Kimmy, who from Full House, who I cannot wait to talk about how that actress just acts circles around everybody else on this fucking show other than Bob Saget and Stamos. Like should have been way, way more than she ended up being because she is phenomenal in this episode. Great acting.
She's good. Yep. She's good. What else is in there?
Karen.
Yes. There was a whole step-by-step episode we wanted to watch where JT thinks Karen's going to murder him. Mm-hmm. And we haven't found a way to get that in, but we have now gotten it.
We got it now. Yep.
We got it in there. So that's another one.
My only disappointment is I couldn't get a Mr. Richfield episode in from Dinosaurs.
We talked about it, but we passed on it for what was the other one? What are we missing? We're missing one.
Full House. Mr. Feeney from
Feeney. Right. Yep. Feeney made it in. Mr. Feeney. Okay. Those are all the plugs. Look for those. Look for those things. Get those things. We'll be back next week. Week 9.
Woo!
Week 9. We might have some playoff picture might be clearing up a little bit, maybe.
Could be.
Not in the NFC, but maybe in the AFC. The NFC is a mess, especially now that the 49ers are a mess.
It's a cluster.
The NFC is a mess. The Seahawks are in first place. The below the Orton line, Geno Smith. The forever 2-2s. They might have a bye week.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Is there 2 bye weeks? I don't think there is anymore.
No, just one this time.
Just one.
And Seattle won't be there at the end.
No, they won't have that. But they'll be in the playoffs for sure.
They will be.
They'll host a game. All right. That is it. We're out of here. Peace out, everybody. See you next week.